Good morning, everyone. This morning we're going to be telling the story of the Mystery of Pentecost. Now, Pentecost is not until next week, but there's not going to be a story next week. So we're going to tell this one a week early so that next week we'll all be prepared. So this is the Mystery of Pentecost. Looks a little bit like the parable boxes, except this one's new, and parable boxes are old. This is very, very red, and we know that parable boxes are often gold. So maybe this is like a parable, but not quite a parable. Let's take a look inside. Well, there are more pieces in there, but nothing to help us get ready. So let's get started. Ooh, a lot of red. Ooh, it's a little hot. There was once a tower. Everyone who was working on the tower spoke the same language, and they all got along together very well. But as the tower began to grow, they began to speak a little differently. As the tower got closer and closer to God, they forgot why they were building the tower in the first place. It was for God. They became so proud of themselves that they started to think they were better builders than God was. Each group that was building thought they were better than the next. All of a sudden, their talking changed, and it just became a loud noise. It didn't make sense. It was as if everyone was babbling at one another. Well, eventually, the tower fell. It was called the Tower of Babel because it sounded as if everyone was babbling to one another. When it fell, each of the languages of the earth broke apart. Each one was beautiful by itself, but it was broken. Thousands of years passed. Jesus was born, he lived, he performed his miracles, and he died on a cross. Yet somehow, he was still with the people. They would often see him, and they just couldn't let go of him. And one day, something amazing happened. The disciples were in the city of Jerusalem. Here they are. There's Peter, James, John, Andrew, Philip, and Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James the Less, Simon, and Jude. There were only 11 disciples, because after Judas betrayed Jesus, he died. Jesus appeared to his disciples, and he took them outside of the city walls. All the way to Mount Olivet, or as far as Bethany. And here, Jesus rose, and he rose. And soon the Holy Spirit would come down. The disciples returned to the city. They were so filled with joy that they went right to the temple and they began to pray. Later, they all went to the upper room. And with God's help, they all decided that Matthias would take Judas's place. Later that Sunday, the 12 were gathered again. Suddenly there was this great noise, like a rushing wind, coming in to be with them. It was the Holy Spirit. Its power came upon them as if they were on fire, and their tongues were burning in their mouths. Some of the people around them weren't sure what was going on. When the disciples went out into the streets, there were people there from many different countries, and they spoke many different languages. The people could see that the disciples had come so close to God, and God had come so close to the disciples in a new way. And it no longer mattered that they spoke different languages. The disciples had become apostles, and they went out into the world to tell this story. And to this day, we celebrate Pentecost to remember this story, to have a special day where we also tell this story. Now I wonder, what part of this story did you think was the best? What part of the story was the most important part? I wonder, what part of this story is about you? Or where are you in this story? I wonder, is there any part of this story that you recognize in our own church? These are the 12 apostles. They used to be the disciples. Ooh, and our red underlay. Ooh, it's hard to fold this one up. Ooh, it's so hot. Like the fire from the Holy Spirit burning inside of them. So I hope you enjoyed the story of the Mystery of Pentecost. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I also hope you have a wonderful summer. Take care, everyone.